to Bloody Good Horror.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing the Mortuary collection. It's an anthology, Schnars. It's like a bunch of little movies in one. I don't know. Who knows where this came from. It's on Shudder. We're talking about it tonight. Joining me first up from Maryland, United States of America. Please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Eric, hello.
He's got a degree in business despite having the hair of a proud GED recipient.
I am so excited that the FBI may raid John's home while we're on the air.
Yeah.
Come on,
He's
Joe.
he's hiding his buffalo hat
Yeah,
and
you
his
can
face
see it
paint.
in the background. There's like a small buffalo horn shooting into the
John,
camera.
you are.
Hey,
If you
let's
keep
let's
growing your
parlay that
hair
till
out,
later.
Schnars, you're that dude. If you keep growing your hair out, you know that.
Which one, Eric? Do you know how many of those?
Oh,
dudes
he's
that
the
could be
dude,
referencing?
John. Okay. Next up on the show, from Chicago, Illinois, land of Dan Aykroyd. Please welcome Joe to the show.
That is true.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd wasn't Canadian, right? Most of those movies, you were either Canadian or from Chicago.
Didn't he?
And I forget.
He was in those bear skits on SNL. That's enough for me.
Was he? No, he wasn't.
No,
You're
he
thinking-
wasn't.
I feel like he guessed
That's
it
long
in
after
one
him.
question mark.
Yeah.
I'll Google. We'll
He
find out.
might have.
Next up on the show, I could not tell you. Actually, wait, isn't Mike Pence from Indiana, Casey?
Sadly,
Sorry about that, dude.
nailed it.
My condolences. Please welcome Casey to the show.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry?
Are you that's just like a general apology for my
Yeah.
parents? Yes.
Dan Aykroyd, born in Ottawa, Canada, never in the bear skit.
Did you Google the bear skit part?
Just
He's actually
literally.
at the top of his Wikipedia.
I listen.
page.
Yeah.
I am positive that he was in one of those skits at some point.
Alright.
Anyway,
I mean, he's been in a skit, yeah, but
joining us last up tonight, special guest on the show from Thor's Hour of Thunder podcast. Please welcome Caitlin to the show.
Thank you, Eric. Do you remember where I'm from, though?
Virginia, Richmond,
Oh,
Virginia. In
right.
fact,
There we go.
yes,
Oh,
I know where Virginia is. I've
I owe you
driven.
$1.
I've driven through Virginia on the way to other things several times.
Right, like ringing endorsement. Eric drove through.
That's more than most states. So there you go. We're gonna wrap with Caitlin a little bit later. First, she's gonna join us for the review. But before we do that, Mr. Joe, please tell us what we are drinking tonight.
Beer guts.
I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of the Wikipedia page for the superfans to see if Dan Aykroyd was, and I've confirmed he was never in that skit.
Nice.
Can we start
Good
the
work,
show
Joe.
over? Can we?
Good work.
The Mortuary collection.
Carry
Yeah,
on. I'm gonna keep looking.
because you know you're wrong, right?
I see multiple things that says Dan Aykroyd took a turn in that sketch. I'm looking at a story right now from the Chicago Tribune mentioning his
Look
name
up.
in it.
There's a Wikipedia page dedicated to the superfans. It lists everyone that has
Bro,
been in
the
there.
catchphrase "The Bears" resonated coast to coast. Dan Aykroyd, John Goodman, Horatio Sands, and others took turns at the table. This is from the
Nope.
Chicago Tribune.
Have you ever been to Chicago?
Are you gonna make me find a picture of it?
Borderline illiterate. Yeah, I need a picture.
Borderline illiterate. Joe, what are we drinking tonight, please? For the love of God.
These mental patients here. Anyway, Mortuary collection, as Eric alluded to, a fun little anthology. One of those anthology or little segments is about the beauty of childbirth and all its glory. In honor of that, I actually picked a beer that's a variation of another beer I've picked for a previous episode. It's from the good folks at DeClaw Brewing Company. They're in Rosedale, Maryland. John, have you been there?
Just make up a name.
Yeah, I did. And the beer I picked from them is their Sweet Baby Java, which, if you're familiar with them, and John, I hope you are, their Sweet Baby Jesus is one of the more popular, I think probably their most popular beer and fairly well known. It's a chocolate peanut butter stout, which is chef's kiss. Delicious, John.
Ah,
But if you want to
like
make
the
something better,
famous Joe Baby Poop beer.
yeah. If you want to make something better, John, you add coffee to it, which is what they did here with the Sweet Baby Java. So chocolate, peanut butter, and then they put espresso bean in the boiling process, which, I like the coffee, John.
Does this end up with caffeine in the end?
Yeah, I think it does. I assume it does. I've looked in this before. I don't think there's a ton, but I mean, it'll put some pep in your step. I've definitely had coffee stouts in the evening and had trouble sleeping at night. So there's got to be something there. You're yawning while I'm disgusting.
I need one.
Anyway, comes in at 6.2% alcohol, so a little bit up there for your traditional stout, but not super crazy. And yeah, like I said, the Sweet Baby Jesus is delicious. This one I tracked down a 6-pack last time I was down south, and beautiful beer. So I definitely recommend it. It's a limited release, so you can't find it often, but if you can, I definitely suggest it. And if you can't, the Sweet Baby Jesus is just as good. So there you go. DeClaw.com is their website, not to be confused with De White Claw,
Or De
which is
Bears.
the French version of White Claws.
Mm.
So, and yeah, that's what I got for this week.
Love it. You had a good hard seltzer lately, Joe? Speaking of White Claw.
We're still trucking along in the dry January, so I haven't had anything in about 2 weeks now.
How you feel?
Well, we did break down over the weekend and decide that weed doesn't count.
It doesn't. I mean, it really doesn't. It's basically medicine.
Congrats.
So I'm feeling a lot better. We've also been trying to eat better, so I feel good, but I don't know, what's what. We have noticed that the last couple of days we've had very bad headaches, and I don't know if that's from some sort of
Let me ask you an unrelated question, Joe. Have your hands been shaking?
I don't know. I can't smell anything, and I keep coughing, but other than that, I feel great.
Listen, Joe, it's proven science that weed is medicine. I have the card in my wallet to prove it.
They called it herbal medicine back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard of this group, Total Devastation, but they were their rap hip hop that were somewhat popular in the 90s, and they had a whole song that was just facts about weed. And literally, I don't think I smoked weed much in high school, but after listening to the album, I'm like, yeah, I should give this a go. And then, here we are now.
True ambassadors.
Yeah. Helping children.
I smoked so much weed in high school, I would bring my own because I would just be like, whatever you guys have, it's not enough. So I need to be prepared.
Your friends were offering you weed. You're like, no, that's cool.
I'm good.
I don't want your shit.
You
I
guys
told
can do the
this-
puff
I think I
test.
told this story on
Right.
Slack, but this past Saturday we did, and I was pretty high, and I walked by our front window, and there was a cop parked. There's a large field diagonal from our house, and there was a cop parked in front of it, which isn't weird because he was probably just there texting with his girlfriend,
You
But I
designed
like-
such a backstory to it.
Wow, Joe.
I for 3 minutes bugged out, and I'm like, holy shit, this isn't good. And then I'm like, this is 100% legal. I'm
Legal.
not doing anything
You're
wrong.
in your
here.
own
Yeah.
house. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
good, dude.
What a time to be alive, huh?
Yeah, we recorded last week's episode on a Tuesday, which made it sound dated by the Friday.
Then Wednesday went to hell.
Yeah, there you go. All right, thank you for that, Joe. Let's take a quick break so that we can review the Mortuary, the Rural Juror, the Mortuary Collection.
This is it, Senator. Your big break in TV. Of the prime time. Main feature.
And we're back. John Schnars,
Eric,
when was the last time you washed that thing on your head?
you mean my hair?
Yeah. Yes.
I watched this morning.
Did you? Are you sure? I think you need to run a comb through it, if I'm being honest.
No, I brushed it not even that long ago.
Yeah.
I brush it a little bit when I'm brushing the kids' hair sometimes.
You got like I had this problem in high school where like I tried to grow my hair long and like towards once it got around your length, it got like puffy towards the bottom. I think you're getting into that territory.
Is this like a new segment on the show that you guys didn't tell me we were going to be doing?
You're
or-
starting to look like Darren in the 80s, which is giving me confused feelings. So
No, I
Right.
get
I mean,
it.
well, actually, they're not confused, if I'm being real.
Yeah.
You can't see it with the background, but mine's getting long enough that it's starting to curl in at the bottom, so I'm starting to look like Prince Valiant.
Yeah, that's the beard to me can only go a certain length before I don't like
Yeah.
what it starts doing.
This is John. Like you guys have gone out in public, right? Like, are you adverse to like getting your hair cut? Like, is there a problem with that?
Dude, I haven't been out in public. It's been like a month.
No, at this
Like,
point though, but at this point you got to ride that out and just see. Like
Yeah,
you're so close to
100%.
maybe, hopefully the end. Like just see where it goes.
Well,
bro.
I think at this point, so I mentioned this. My original plan was I wasn't going to cut it until I got to go back to New York. That was like, now it's like maybe when I get a vaccine, I would get it cut. It's unclear if I'll be back in New York before I get a vaccine or not. So that's toss up. But yeah.
Sexual. All right, John.
Sorry, not to like spur off completely, but it confirmed Dan Aykroyd did appear in a skit.
Oh God, damn it, Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Ah,
Thanks for being honest. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right,
Now
John.
we know.
Please,
that hurts.
please bring us the word of the day. Listen, I may not ever remember the name of the movie we're reviewing unless I write it down on this notepad over here, but I know some people that were in 30-year-old SNL skits. So
He literally couldn't tell us what we emailed about 5 minutes ago, but this.
I have my wheelhouse and I live
Yeah.
in it. John,
Anything that predated high school when you were smoking.
yeah, it's all. That's a. You know what, John? Huh?
It's all locked in.
I'm gonna
there.
think
not
about
wrong.
that. I'm gonna think about that for a few minutes while you bring us the word of
Yeah,
the day.
it's like amber. Today's word. Today's word, charnel. That's CHARNEL. Pretty straightforward here. When used as an adjective, it means associated with death. But it comes, or it's most frequently used in the phrase charnel house, which is a place where dead bodies are stored, aka a mortuary.
I believe that's the singular version of charnews. I think.
Yeah, that's
A
true.
charnel.
Yeah, that's actually that is in the
Yeah.
original. You're right. It comes to us from the same place. A lot of the meat-related words, carnalis, carnalis, relating to the flesh.
Oh, the flesh.
The medieval Latin, that is. Yeah, charnel. This is a new word for me. I learned a word today. Pretty excited.
I'm writing this down in my notes like I'm going to be quizzed on it later.
Good. No, that's Eric won't remember in 5 minutes, so I would appreciate it.
Oh, I know. I wasn't listening just now, so I actually I don't know.
Literally crushing the candies as we speak.
I'm texting if you must know, Joe.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
John.
Yeah, and then he said Dan Aykroyd wasn't in this skit. And then I said, yeah, he was.
John,
And
why
then he
don't
said he was wrong.
John, why don't you tell me about the mortuary collection, buddy?
I'm not gonna be able to get through this. Mortuary collection. So this comes to us from Ryan Spindell, writer director. This is his first full length feature, another feature debut. He had a bunch of shorts, one of which, based on our internet sleuthing or IMDb sleuthing, if you will, does look like it kind of became one of the shorts that shows up in this movie. As Eric mentioned, it's an anthology film. The rapper story here features Clancy Brown, right? I'm getting the name,
Yep.
the name right.
Oh,
Clancy. He is playing a mortician who's overseeing the funeral of a child. We don't really know. They don't give us a ton of backstory about what's going on there, but basically he's our central character. There's a woman who shows up after the service, and they begin to interact, and she kind of indicates that she's there because she saw a help wanted sign, but they're having this sort of like cat and mouse back and forth type conversation where she's asking him to tell stories, and so he's telling her in the course of the film 4 different short stories that become the parts of the anthology. I don't know. Do we want? I don't know. You probably don't need me to go through like each of them. We can do them maybe one at a time. I don't know.
I sure
but,
don't. I sure don't.
Yeah. So there
We
you
can
go.
talk about them as we're
Plants.
getting into like our thoughts on things.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, John. I'm sure it was great. Joe, what do you think of this movie?
I really liked it. I think I was the one that actually suggested this because the missus and I watched it a couple weeks ago when we were looking for something spooky to enjoy on a Saturday night, and I didn't have high hopes, but I was definitely pleasantly surprised. I mean, I think, I hadn't really heard about this before it hit Shudder, so my expectations were pretty low, and like the production quality on this was great. I mean, I think the stories were really creative, and the kind of wraparound I thought was really well done. So overall, I was a pretty big fan of this.
Casey?
Yeah, so this was actually number 10 on my 2020 list. It snuck in there. I watched this back at the beginning of quarantine when it first released. I enjoyed it a lot. It's just it's a really well put together anthology, and it's a rare one where all of the stories are pretty enjoyable. You can get a laugh out of them. You get some scares. You get some blood and guts and gore. You get Clancy Brown hamming it up and eating scenery. So it's just a fun time, and I enjoyed it a lot. It felt a lot like anthologies we might have seen coming out in like the early 90s, late 80s. So it was just really well put together.
Caitlin, what'd you think?
I liked it a lot. I actually hadn't seen this until we texted about it earlier this week. And in general, I love an anthology, and we haven't gotten one in a while. So I was excited to dig in. It kind of has the vibe of a kids movie, but with really adult themes, not just, in terms of, sex being an adult theme, but themes like grief and guilt and assault. So it dealt with some pretty heavy stuff and had some pretty intense gore for what felt kind of campy and fun.
Crazy gory.
Crazy gore. But yeah, there are a lot of really engrossing things about it. The set design, I was almost distracted by how much I loved the stained glass in that dude's office. It was beautiful. But yeah, the costuming and score and sound, it was just all, engrossing is the word I had written down. And then we can talk a little bit later about how it inverts sort of gender tropes in horror a little bit, but that might spoil a little bit too much at the top, so.
Yeah, come on, you got to throw down that spoiler alert right up front.
Yeah, I really, I'm kind of bummed. 2 weeks in a row we've done apparent 2020 movies that I really liked. This thing definitely would have been on my top 10 list.
Yeah, same.
It's funny because Creepshow is one of my favorite movies of all time, but I'm not sure I've seen an anthology movie I actually really liked since the 90s. Like, I like Tales from the Dark Side, that one with Christian Slater. And like that's kind of it.
Nice things to say about VHS, like
I was
one of
gonna
the
Yes.
VHS.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, that's really interesting. But I'm also I'm a slut for found footage, Sean. You know that.
Well, yeah, and
But
you were also a slut for VHS.
I think
tapes,
that
so-
one of my
You're just a slut.
one of my one of my biggest criticisms about a lot of modern anthology movies is I feel like there's too many of like, hey, we're a bunch of indie filmmakers who all made shorts. Let's cram them together and shoot a wraparound because it never feels like a coherent thing. And this movie is so like solidly consistent throughout. Even though the stories are wildly different, they all look the same. The cinematography in this thing is fantastic. There's like a real warm kind of like atmospheric feel to it. There is a kind of retro like gothic aesthetic running through all the stories, even though they're not all period. Like some of them are set like kind of looks like one's 50s, one kind of looks like 60s.
I think it's called dark academia. Is that
Sure.
that aesthetic?
Yeah, into it.
Oh,
But like
John, did you know that?
Yeah, did you just make that up on the spot right now?
I did
That's
not
pretty
know.
good.
I took a quiz on BuzzFeed and it told me that was my aesthetic.
Oh, very
That's my
cool. All
kink.
right.
But yeah, like so already it's just production wise is super solid. And then it just presents you with this thing, like I think Caitlin hit it on the head. It's like the whimsy of a kid's movie, almost a la like the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that that came out last year. Except unlike that movie, which was a PG-13, this thing just fucking goes for it. It is disgusting. Like at moments, to compare it to another anthology, there are moments where it's almost as disgusting as some of the stuff in ABCs of Death. Like that penis exploding moment, was, and first of all,
Spoiler.
not
Yeah,
even
come on.
visuals, but the sounds in that segment
Oh,
made me want to
that was
vomit.
rough.
They
Lot
were
of gurgling.
horrendous, like, but so well done. It's horrifying, and then you go to this thing with the wife, and like, it's crazy disgusting. So it's like, and really dark. Like some of these stories, that one with the like, I don't know what the word. I'm trying to think of a word that's not offensive. I don't know what it is. She's like catatonic, let's say, and the husband's like taking care of her. That story is so dark, and even in that story, they like pull uncomfortable laughs out of you, and that I think is like this movie's strength. Then it's wrapped up in this whole like wacky tongue-in-cheek thing with Clancy Brown in like creature makeup, which I've never seen before and is amazing. I love this actress, and I love their kind of like play back and forth. It's very like Clancy Brown is like playing a Joe character in this movie. Like when Joe does his like if you were to tell Joe like play a guy who hosts the Haunted Mansion, it would be like this version of what Clancy Brown is doing.
Well, there was a little bit of, and I think I mentioned this in the email. His wig, you could see the line where, and it was sort of like, I think it was a choice. Like I think they were intentionally kind of.
Oh
making
yeah,
it
it could be. I mean, because it is very
ridiculous.
The wraparound in particular is very tongue in cheek. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it is shocking. It's funny. I think it is actually well paced for an anthology, which is one of the hardest things to land when you're doing a movie like this. So this absolutely would have been in my top 10 from last year. I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, in the continuity, I mean, I think we had talked about in the chat that the last segment was released in like 2015 or something, so they retrofitted those other segments stylistically pretty well to have it all flow.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you go, John?
No, I
Oh.
just assume Eric doesn't want to know.
Schnars, what'd
how
you
I feel
think?
about it. Yeah, I mean, look, I like this movie a lot. I just go into any anthology movie very skeptical. It's sort of like I have a show me attitude at this point because I feel like, no, well, I mean, look,
Always
like,
have, John.
I just feel like
I'm more of a grower.
I just feel like the cards are stacked against anthology movies like really working. And again, this is from a guy who we've never heard of. You know, no offense to Ryan Spindell or whatever the hell his name is. But yeah, it was really good.
He's
I was really
been
surprised.
on the show, John. He guessed it 2 weeks ago.
No, it was very solid. Like I was really impressed. I mean, I think the comp for me, that the stories are very much structured like those old Tales from the Crypt stories. There's a little bit of sort of like a moral, punch to each of them that you're supposed to take away, and but it is well balanced. I think the acting was all really good. They had some really good characters that sort of pop up in one and then they pop up in a different one as a different character or as like a in the background kind of person.
Well, we get the doctor in almost all of them. Dr.
The doctor, Dr.
Kubler.
Yeah, he was really good. Well, the one he shows up and he's like, I guess he's like the on-campus doctor. And he's like, oh, Lord, like I can't remember. He's like, they don't let me touch whatever it was. The kid is at like painkillers or something. But then he's like making house calls in the other one.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm jumping to something else, but the doctor in the thing with the wife, like he goes straight to murder. He's just like, he doesn't even float. Like, is this guy cool? Like, was he receptive? He just straight up is like, if you give her 2 of these, she gonna die.
Yeah.
Well, he's throughout it, right? Because there was something else.
Yeah.
Like he was just sketchy in every.
He plays different
segment,
characters,
right?
but yeah.
Well, he plays the same character, but it's a different version of that same
Different
character.
take on it,
Yes. A doctor, a goofy doctor.
I have to look up because the guy who plays the husband in that one, I've seen in something and I don't know what.
Well, he was in Master of None. I was just looking at his page, but
I don't know what that is.
he shows up in the background of he's in the last one as like one of the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. That bit cracked me up. Eric, he was in The Office apparently. That guy as well.
Holy shit! Who's in the office?
He was one of Dwight's friends. It's one of the later season ones,
Oh,
Eric,
okay.
so
I
it might
probably
not
don't know that
jump
one
for
then.
you, but he went to X-Men school with Dwight.
I don't know what you're talking about. The Office stops after season 7.
I'm just happy that I knew more than you about it.
Wow.
Do,
No, I think to Eric's point, like it, and Caitlin, I think you brought up a good one too. Like it has a very like Are You Afraid of the Dark vibe to it. Like it feels very like teenagery or like, like tween, like Nickelodeon spooky show with like exploding dicks and stuff, which like
Yeah.
and to Eric's point about how like was it VHS of death or whatever the hell it was, like it doesn't feel like it's trying too hard. Like it's gruesome and there's like definitely like cringy stuff that you're looking at, but it doesn't feel like it's doing it just for shock value. Like it fit
Right.
very well with like the look of the movie, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and if you take like the tiny bit of a moral spin, like John was saying, that they're putting on each one of those, the gore and stuff, it doesn't, like Joe was saying, it doesn't go over the top. It fits kind of the moral they're going for, especially like the pregnancy one was a big one. They're reversing angles on things there, so it all fit and made sense. But I loved it too that they break down the writing to where before the chaos happens, spoiler alert, with that pregnancy short, but even he was right before things burst. He's like, wait a minute, where's it coming from? And they're like, we're going to tell you, we're going to answer your questions.
Do you guys think
Well,
like
they got
for
pretty
me?
meta with it too. Like the morals, they had I remember the actress's name is Caitlin because that's my name too. But whoever her character was, but they talked about, she was like, these are getting kind of predictable and boring because they all have a moral to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. I liked her a lot. She was fun. Do you? I mean, I feel like that college one is the standout. Like it's the one I feel like I'm gonna remember.
It was definitely positioned that way, right? Like we've talked about this with other anthology films. Like
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, John. My anthology theory is that you got a banger up top. The second one is where you put your kind of like shitty thing, and then the third one, kind of where your like second act would be in a movie, is where you put your good shit.
So I know that is your theory, but here's the thing: that first short, it's the shortest one. It's like 5 minutes
It's
long.
very fast. Yeah.
It's basically like it whets your appetite, and so then
It's awesome too. I love that.
you're kind of like ready to go, and then they hit you with the college one, which to me I just think that they position that for like the highest possible impact, basically.
Yeah, it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the movie, and it gives you an idea on the humor and the craziness you're in.
Yeah, and it gets it in there before you're potentially getting like tired or something, or just kind of worn out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well, and it shows more than I thought it would because, like I said, it kind of had a Haunted Mansion vibe, and then I was like, oh, whoa, here we go.
there's the dick.
Yep.
I mean, I think
I'm gonna say that was a prosthetic, Joe, just to.
Oh my
that was
god,
real, John. I know, peen.
the noises. The scene is so fucking
Whole
brilliant
quote
when
for the
he's like,
episode.
Oh, it's so funny.
when he's like, "Where's it gonna come out?" And they both look at each other, and they look at him and like the same way it went. Like just the comedic delivery on all those lines was brilliant.
I mean, the
love
thing
the
that I
parents.
loved, the
Sorry,
thing that I
Joe.
loved is like there's really no weak segment in this, which I think is pretty rare
Yeah,
for an
yeah.
anthology. Like there's always at least one where you're like, I'm just gonna skip through this because it's
I mean,
it's kind of dragging
and the
whole thing down.
VHS movies are very guilty of that. All of them have at least
But
one
this-
that's like, ooh.
But to your point that you made earlier, Eric, like they definitely fit well together and have the same sort of feel, so it doesn't feel like it's just 4 or 5 different stories thrown together. Like they all are pretty cohesive, and like I enjoyed like what was there 5 of them maybe? Like I thought they were all great.
Dude, if you make them look
Yeah.
nice and you make them look this like coherent visually, you already like done half the work to win me over. Because it's not just like you could make a bunch of shorts that look bland and look the same, but to actually have a real style and then have that kind of emanating throughout like this, then I'm in.
But Eric,
The
that's
production
actually
was like that too. Like the each one of the segments made really good use of slow mo. Like we see the octopus girl getting dragged. We see slow mo and fast mo sex scenes. We see slow mo elevator scene, which was probably my favorite scene of the movie. That elevator scene that's slowed
that
down.
was so well done.
Yeah, and the slow mo fight in the last one, I feel like they all use slow mo really well. They use montages really well, and they all use the score really well. So it's like I don't know when you get an anthology like VHS or ABCs of Death that are done by different directors, they feel choppy, and these were all sort of speaking the same language.
Well, I mean, it's one guy, right? He wrote and directed all of them, so it's like it's a consistency of vision for sure.
Yeah.
And like
But
he might have, even if he did that or that whatever it was, the babysitter one as a short, and maybe he wrote around that. I mean, it's still, it feels like he wrote this down, or he created it as a cohesive vision.
But like carrying on from what Caitlin was saying, he even did a good job with tying in the rapper to this with around the anthology, which I was really impressed with. Because usually in an anthology like this, that's where you kind of break down is going between your wraparound and your different shorts. But they're really cohesive here. It's pretty nice.
Caitlin, you had brought up over email just some of the like gender stuff going on in this college one because it's a very heavy like theme in it.
Yeah, there's some gender sort of subversion or inversion in quite a few of the segments, but yeah, the one with the frat boy, I mean, when two parties are involved in a hookup, you don't expect the pregnant party to be the frat boy. But I had mentioned that when I was at UVA, the fraternities at UVA were so notoriously bad that it had to have seminars on diversity from the Minority Rights Coalition. And I was a part of the feminist group on campus, surprising nobody. And my job was to write and present the curriculum on feminism to frat guys. And I will say that leveraging
one of the best jobs of all time.
truly. Seal the deal.
You were paid a lot of money, I would assume, too.
So much. Paid in like sticky soles of my shoes sticking to the disgusting floor. But I will say that guy's leveraging of the sexual revolution in order to get laid is exactly a frat boy's understanding of feminism. So accurate, bravo.
Yeah, well, you know what I really appreciate about that is like it's such a good example. Those themes are running through that whole thing. They're very out front, but they're so well, they built the story around it, and they made it really entertaining and funny and shocking around it, right? Which to me is always going to be a way more effective way to use stuff like that than just having a character stand there and be like gender things. Like it's a part of the story in a really satisfying way.
It's like we always complain about with movies that have a message like that. When they're bad, they're beating you over the head of this, and this one doesn't at all. It's really organic.
And it's some great Tales from the Crypt style, like we saw this person do a bad thing, and now we're going to see bad things happen to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was Gender Things the title of your PowerPoint presentation, Caitlin, when you were...
Gender Things.
No, it was
stuff.
Please put on a shirt. You have a guest in your house. They were all shirtless. It's so
Gross.
awkward.
It's the uniform, right? So what else, guys?
I will tell you the moment in this that literally made me, I don't want to say gasp. I don't know if I audibly gasped. But when in the husband-wife one, when she falls over and you realize sort of what has happened, that to me, I was laughing. I mean, it's so grim.
Yeah, I mean,
so
like
grim.
I love the college one. I think it's the one that sticks out. It's the one that nails the most, I think, of all of the elements: the humor, the gore, the shock value, like all of it. But this story about this dude taking care of his like catatonic wife. First of all, it is fucking pitch black, dude. But it's trying to make you laugh, and it makes you feel uncomfortable because it's funny. Like it's funny.
He's like rolling sushi and making these beautiful meals, and then he just like slaps
Puts
them in
it in a blender. Yeah,
and it's so disgusting. I can't even watch that. Like that is almost more disgusting to me than anything else in the movie.
Yeah, I mean the pregnancy one is kind of the most shocking, but like the wife one I thought was my favorite, like hands down. Like it's so depressing but yet funny, and then once it gets in the elevator it's just bananas. Like I loved it. I thought that whole scene was shocking.
The acting is so good, and it's the subtle stuff too, right? It's like before shit pops off, it's the scene where the woman in the elevator is telling him like about how when her husband died she like had this whole second life, and he starts thinking about it, and then the next scene he's talking to the doctor and he's like, she could live like another year, and you just see this, it's subtle, but he's like crestfallen, you know what I mean? Like there's just, they're really dialing into like the pathos of this story in a way that is the balls on someone to write this story and be like, we're going to make this funny as hell. Like I honestly can't even like get myself in that headspace that someone must have been in to do that.
Well, let's go around the horn. Would you have killed your wife?
You first, Joe.
Yes.
I mean, the doctor seemed to tell him it was cool, so.
Yeah, that's true.
I
love the doctor was like, no one will ever know.
I don't think you understand.
He also decided to feed her to the sharks. So.
And then the like, you know, but it's really well dialed into to just, I don't know, like human embarrassment and like being mortified, like where he he put the body in the trunk, but like didn't think about the blood, and then he turns around and it's all over the elevator, and he starts trying to mop it up with like a hand towel. Like you've never been in a situation, but you just feel exactly what he's feeling in that moment, and it's fucking brutal.
Yeah. See, I called in the email. I called that one like probably the weakest out of all of them. But that's not to say I didn't think it was a great short. It was good and it was funny. And then my reply to that was, I think it's probably not the weakest short throughout the whole anthology. But as far as the pace of this movie goes, that middle one with the man taking care of his wife is the most jarring because it switches over to so black, and it starts out slow, and it takes a minute for them to set that black humor pace to it. Which is not bad. It pays off. I'm just saying it's like the most jarring as far as everything that's in this movie. We've talked about how cohesive it was.
Well, it's
For
the
me-
most jarring, but it's also the most like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's juxtaposed with like slapstick because he's kind of
Yeah.
like the blood is spilling out. He's using his coat to mop it up. He's like, I was like, he's gonna go whoop 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 and like slip in it, you know.
But it's the only one that also is like, this is gonna sound bad, but like somewhat relatable, right? Like because
Yeah.
everything else has like a part of like supernatural. You know, there's the one with like the octopus coming out of the wall and stuff. Like that's stuff that's not gonna happen in real life. Versus this one that actually makes you think like, well, if I was in this situation, like what would I do? Which
Can I
Yep.
do
you know.
a
Was that a
welfare
fun
check on your
combo?
wife?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
you
Leslie
and
and I
Leslie
100%
watching this?
agreed that like yeah we would bump each other off.
All right, cool.
Well, as long as you're in
That's good.
agreement, then I think it's okay.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
sure?
totally.
That's
I mean,
just like
if it's gonna be like years and I'm just drooling, like that's no life for me either. So I'm
Yeah.
on board.
I'm with you, bro.
I don't know. You could watch, horror movies, just drooling on yourself, I guess.
Not so different from now.
Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
Burned.
Okay.
Random question: how old do you guys think Clancy Brown is?
I think he is 63.
He's got to be in his 70s.
So, all right, good, because I thought I was like, he could be 80. Like, for all I know, he's 62 years old.
Dude, I
man.
was so
Wow.
close. Holy shit.
Yeah,
I
Like,
honestly,
talk
John,
about-
I am really good at that game, and I have no idea why.
yeah. I just feel like he's been in stuff forever. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like he's been around, as far as I
He
know.
had something like 400 credits. I was like, oh my god.
Dude, yeah.
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
think
My
of
first
anything
two-
prior to like the early 90s, though. Like, what was he in the 80s?
Highlander.
So that would have made him around
Yeah.
30 in the early 90s, which makes
He was
sense.
in an episode of The Dukes of Hazzard in '83.
See, I think that
Whatever.
I think that he's really big, and he's kind of got like a Cro-Magnon face, so I think he just looks older than he is. Like he just
No,
always,
well,
he's
no,
always
no.
like he's always looked 40.
Yeah, now that I've like read this, I'm like, yeah, okay. But they make him in this movie. Well, all right. Can we also talk about his teeth in this movie? Did
I don't
anyone
know
else have, like,
why. I do
an
not
issue
know
with his
why
teeth?
you're so fixated on his teeth.
Well, because they made it look like he had 50 teeth.
Yeah, he
It
was some kind
very
of demon
weird.
caretaker.
Leslie and I
or
had a little
whatever.
conversation about like, are people just okay with the way this guy looks? Like, do people show up to this mortuary and they're like, yeah, this is totally
Yeah, my
fine.
kid
Cool.
died. Like, let's have this guy do the reading.
Yeah. Like, oh, he's just old.
Yeah. It was also weird that he was the one like presenting at the kid's funeral. It's like,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah,
how
they
this
don't-
works in this town?
It's like
I
at one
guess.
point you stand up like, you don't usually give speeches. Like that's not your deal.
Not when you run the mortuary.
Yeah.
My favorite
isn't-
credit for Clancy Brown, though, is still Mr. Krabs.
No,
Oh, yeah,
100%.
yeah.
He's got a lot of good credits. I mean, to be clear.
Oh, yeah.
he's,
He was
big fan.
the asshole prison guard in Shawshank Redemption. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what I
yeah.
always
That's-
remember him at.
So that's
Well,
kind
Pet
of
Sematary
where
2,
and
he's
then
like
Pet-
the
and then
abusive stepfather, right?
Pet Cemetery
Yep.
too. Yeah, he becomes a zombie at some point too. in that movie.
Yeah.
My
But-
first exposure was as the Kurgan in the Highlander movie, the very first one.
Oh, interesting.
It's good stuff. He was terrifying.
I would guess, especially people our age, that like Shawshank is the go-to on that
Yeah.
one. But
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. I'm just looking through his IMDb now.
what you got, Joe?
I
forgot
he
about
does that.
Buckaroo
Let's do it, Joe. I
He's
love a
done
good.
a ton of voice work.
I
Which
love
is
a
great,
good.
'cause he
I
has
love a good
Yeah.
IMDb search. Joe, what else you got?
His first movie was in '83, Bad Boys, not that one.
Bad
Which
Boys,
surprised
Bad
me
Boys.
because I do feel like he's been around for 300
Oh,
years.
what you gonna
Yeah.
do?
Well, this is fun, guys. Anything else? Revenge of the Nerds 3 he was in?
Oh, which one was that? Was that the
Weaker of the Revenge.
was
of the
that the
Nerds
like
episodes.
beach party one with like the island?
No, that was part 2, Nerds in
I
Paradise.
like part two.
Yeah.
Part 3 was
Coral
direct to
Essex.
video. Yeah.
He is Eric. You'll be excited to know Clancy Brown's going to be in the upcoming Dexter reboot.
He's the
Oh.
big bad.
I'm not gonna watch it because that show turned into unless they fired everyone who worked in that show and hired an entirely new crew, then fuck that
Presumably,
show.
they're going to let some of those people come back. is my
No,
guess.
then I'm out.
Well, I don't disagree with you. To be clear,
I'm gonna need to contact trace anyone responsible for the first iteration of Dexter and make sure none of them came in contact with
Dude,
this new
Michael
version.
C. Hall has not. What has he been doing?
Like,
No.
I need to make
Doesn't
sure
he have
that
a
the
check?
new show is not infected by the old one before I will get anywhere near it.
Eric's
Well,
got
did that-
virus on the brain.
I thought there was like a statement they put out that said like the reboot will fix the.
Well, it's
the
fun.
ending
So
of
I
the last
saw
one.
like they've got Michael C. Hall out on the interview train the last couple weeks, and the headlines I keep seeing is like Michael C. Hall would like to make up for the finale of Dexter, and I
Yeah,
keep
exactly, that's
shouting
what
to
I saw,
myself
too.
in my room like it's the last 4 seasons, dude. It's not just the finale.
You
Oh,
can't
yeah.
take it
There
back.
were structural problems that led to the finale, but that's not the problem. That's like saying
Yeah.
the problem is I died, not what happened before, like not what caused the death.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that fucking show.
That
made me
show
angry.
peaked with John Lithgow.
Here's the worst thing about the Dexter finale is that you know what was going on at the same time, John?
It's
the
not where I
last-
thought this episode was
the-
going.
Yeah.
The last season of Breaking Bad was happening at the same time. Like
Oh,
literally
no,
they
where
were
is it? All right.
literally they were like adjoining days. So like one night you'd watch Dexter last season show, the next night you're watching like the greatest season of television
you'd just
ever
be like,
produced.
What the fuck? is
And it
going
could
on?
not
And
have
flip
been
over, like,
a
oh,
more
cool,
stark
this is-
contrast.
That's tough.
Anyway, Caitlin, you have any
Definitely.
more smart shit to say about the Mortuary collection? What you got?
I never have smart shit to say.
What's in that
no.
notebook over there? Hit me with your best.
I feel like this is a lot of pressure to put on someone on their first episode.
She's d-
Say
she's
something
up-
else smart now.
She's up for it.
No, I feel like I wanted to talk about the gender versions. We have getting pregnant. We have, I mean, when you think about domestic caretaking, usually historically that's been women's work, and that's sort of inverted here. Even the slasher babysitter trope is inverted here in terms of gender, and I don't know exactly what they were trying
Spoiler
to. I don't know what the.
again.
It's my first time.
No, I don't know. No one cares.
I
We're
feel like
we're a
we've
year
already-
late
we've
on this
dropped a
movie.
lot.
We're
so-
good here.
I mean, the penis exploded. The biggest spoiler has been
Oof.
spoiled.
Yeah, that was brutal.
But I don't know what the messaging was supposed to be around gender, but it's certainly something I picked up on.
See,
Yeah.
I didn't think the babysitter murder was necessarily like purposely based on gender, but just kind of to turn it up as far as a babysitter murderer. But I also thought that one was, as far as like all of these, that was the one I was able to predict the easiest
Mm.
on where they were going with that short.
Caitlin,
Well, I
since
don't know that it was like, I think it was just an element that I picked up on. I don't know that it was supremely relevant to the how the story unfolded, but certainly
Yeah.
different from the Halloween sort of tropes.
Oh, definitely.
Caitlin, you're
Well,
probably the only other
different from-
person here who picked this up, but did you pick up? I know there's some pretty overt Halloween references at one point. Did you pick up the Scream reference?
No.
At the end, there is a character, like in the last like 20 minutes, there's a kill where a character drops a TV on another character's head that is like shot for shot from the ending of Scream.
But we get
Wow.
to see like the smush happen.
But they show the
So we-
smush,
like,
which is
we
awesome.
have the perspective of the smush,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
not
Cool.
Jersey Shore smush, but
I was about to say,
television
in the
smush.
smush room was that?
I was
Don't
waiting for you.
give him,
Joe.
Don't give him these openings, please.
Sorry.
Oh, listen.
We work very hard. To
guys,
No,
guys, John hasn't seen Scream or the Jersey Shore. He's feeling really left out right now.
Come on. I mean, one of those.
You've never seen the Jersey Shore?
I mean, like I've like walked by the TV when Suzanne was watching it.
You know what? I used to love Jersey Shore, and now I can't escape this deep down fear that it's somehow responsible for Trump, and I don't think I can enjoy it anymore.
Dude, that's not crazy.
No, like I
I'm-
can't. Even my one particular favorite kind of ignorance, I feel like I can't celebrate it anymore, John.
I would love to see a
Why?
Venn
Oh.
diagram of like Jersey Shore,
Mm.
Capitol rioters, and see where the overlap happens.
I'm curious, like how
Coming
these two
for you,
connect.
Joe.
It's the celebration of ignorance, Joe.
Is it? I mean, we don't need to get
Listen,
into
I understand why you're a little defensive about this, but I said what I said. I stand by it.
Yeah.
Shit.
I mean, the guy who lives near Boston, I
Yeah.
don't think is in any.
Actually, Joe, I live near Worcester, which is even worse.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much your city is known for
like
Dunkin'
little
Donuts and racism. So
Okay, guys. Anybody else have anything to say about the Mortuary collection? Cool. Would you recommend this movie, Joe?
Yeah, definitely.
John?
Yes.
Casey?
Absolutely.
Caitlin?
For sure.
Same. If we had watched this last year, it might have lifted my mood at some point. John, why couldn't we have done this instead of like the 20 genocide movies we reviewed? Just saying, I could have used some Mortuary
I
collection.
don't know.
while
I'm ready for another genocide. Let's get back on the subject.
It's a
John's
great
like,
full
we've
quote
been
for the episode,
having,
for sure.
yeah,
Next
we've been
up,
too happy
The
lately.
9th installment of our Locked in a House.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Dear Mom and Dad, I've been at sleepaway camp for almost 3 weeks, and I'm getting very scared.
Someone is watching you. Someone is waiting for you. Someone wants to scare you to death. Sleepaway camp. You won't be coming home. Rated R.
Hi, this is Daniel Roebuck from Everything You've Ever Seen on Television, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. Caitlin,
Eric,
what's up, dude?
just chilling.
What you got going on? You want to tell people about Thor's Hour of Thunder? I was on that show recently.
You were. I liked that episode a lot. Yeah, so Danny, our friend Librario Congress on Twitter and Slack, he's been doing Thor's Hour of Thunder for a very long time. I think we're about to hit 800 episodes.
God damn.
I say we, but that's all Danny. I've been on for like the past year and a half or so. He's been very gracious to have me on. But yeah, Eric, you were on. We've had Sophie on before. Cece's been on before. One Space Lawyer has been on as a regular for the past year or so. And we're gonna have Elizabeth on in a couple weeks. Joe Ferry from Slack was also on recently. So lots of we call ourselves like the Kmart Big Lots BGH little brother. Like we want to be we want to be in the universe, but we're just kind of hanging on the sidelines. But no, we look at movies that we think are sort of underseen or that we just want to check out. Actually, this past week we're doing hometown movies, and you guys might not know this about me, but I am from Richmond, Virginia.
Oh,
and
okay.
my hometown movie was Donnie Darko because it takes place in the suburb of Richmond where I grew up. So if you want to hear Danny talk about his time leaving Slack to go masturbate and come back, then that's a great one to listen to. Give me that sweet download, Joe, and then you'll see.
It's a website. Where do you have to go?
All right, it's not watching you.
Like,
Yeah.
but I'm
You
saying,
were-
like,
Turn your webcam off.
You
I
weren't
mean-
providing the content he needed at the time, so he left and came back.
interesting.
Just leave the tab open, dude.
99% of the masturbation happens in front of the internet, right? Like, I
Right,
assume.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I had so much fun being on the show. I mentioned this a few weeks ago after it went live, but we reviewed the 80s version of Babes in Toyland with like a just completely lost Keanu Reeves and a in the throes of addiction Drew Barrymore at age like 11 or like I think it was on the show. Somebody mentioned reading an anecdote about her smoking cigarettes in between takes, and she's straight up just like a little kid. Like it's pretty crazy. The movie's one of the weirdest. Oh, Richard Mulligan as like the evil dude who lives in a bowling ball with like crow sidekick. It's the fucking weirdest movie I've ever seen, and I had a lot of
It was
fun.
a good pick, though. It was a good pick. Thank you for.
I had a ton of
choosing that.
fun. Yeah. What did you
Danny
say?
is a total sweetheart, and he loves Bloody Good Horror. He was so excited to have you on, and
I mean, he
yeah,
must have been
he's
doing that
wonderful.
show since before us. If he's done 800 episodes, like I don't. He must have
Yeah,
been doing
I
that
think
shit since
he's
like
been doing it about
2003.
10 years. So
We've
Wow.
been doing it 12 though. How does he do multiple episodes? Have we just skipped that many weeks? There's no way we skipped 200 weeks. I need to know this now, Danny. If you're listening, let's get to the bottom
Well,
of this
we can
math.
sort
Info
this. We
at
can
Bloody
figure
Good
this
Horror.
out.
So if you want to listen to that, you can Google or like search in your podcast app Thor's Hour of Thunder, and it should come up. And it was a recent episode I was on in December. So there you go. Well, Kaylin, we are very glad to have you here tonight. So thanks for joining us. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. No,
That's it.
no email this week, Joe. Was gonna ask though if there's a cameo we should be playing, but I don't have anything pulled up.
Oh, you know what? There was only one this week, and it was. I think Tim was the gentleman's name that I did it for, and it was possibly my most spastic. It was at like 3 p.m. I was having a terrible day at work. The only thing I had that day at all was coffee. So it was just, yeah.
How do you make
Things
it that
happen.
far without
Joe.
eating?
Yeah. You're doing
Huh?
a dry January, Joe. You gotta treat your body right, man.
When people tell me like, "Oh, I didn't eat anything till dinner," I'm like, I would have dropped dead. I'm not joking. Like,
Yeah.
you would have found me in a like diabetic coma in my office. Like, it's
Yeah,
not-
I mean, my day is just back-to-back conference calls. So
But
like
you're in
literally,
your
I'll
house,
just
just-
look up and it's like,
just like I don't know, man. That's crazy. It blows my mind.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know,
send you a
man.
care package, Joe. I'm
I
shipping you
appreciate
something,
that. We do have tweets though, if that's what you're alluding to.
Well, hold on. Before we do that, Joe, you very much wanted to talk about Girl Scout cookies.
I did, but there's actually a tweet about it, which I
Perfect.
sent you a message. You didn't see it, but so we
Sure
can,
didn't.
Well, I guess we can start tweets. I'll read this one first. We're on Twitter at BG Horror. Every week we post up the hashtag AskBGH. If you want to send in a question, we'll talk about it. Sinister6, one of our buddies on Slack as well. Joe, I'd like to buy some Girl Scout cookies and take advantage of the free delivery, but I live in Atlanta. Will that be a problem? I don't think there is free delivery, but I will say I posted up on like my own personal stuff over the I think the weekend or a few days back that my daughter was selling Girl Scout cookies, and unbelievable. Like, thanks to our listeners and our Slack folks and like my friends and family, she sold like over 200 boxes within a day, and it was unreal, the response. So I just want to thank everybody that bought them. If you do want to buy them from my wonderful daughter, I've got a link to them on my my Instagram. That's Joe BGH on Instagram. You can go there. But yeah, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Our friend Chizzy Wiz, that's Erica, formerly of Night of the Living podcast that you might be familiar with. You guys okay? You remember when we thought The Purge was satire? Would Eric BGH call this shenanigans?
You ever have that feeling lately when somebody asks if you're okay and you're just like, like I read that tweet today and I was just like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
My response, like
Yes.
on calls and stuff, when anyone asks how I'm doing, my just response now is like, whatever, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
fuck you. Fuck off with your questions, okay? Like, I'm here. What do you want from me?
Erie, Arizona. You're a pro wrestler. What song do you pick as your theme music when you walk into the ring? And he included this amazing animated GIF of King Kong Bundy sitting at a computer, which I don't think I've seen before. That's wonderful.
King Kong
so
Bundy.
if you're a wrestler,
Yeah, go ahead.
entrance music.
King Kong Bundy is one of the funniest wrestlers of all time. He's just like shaped like an egg, kind of.
Yeah, do you remember WrestleMania 3 where he wrestled Hillbilly Jim and two little people?
And he does a lot of interviews now. Like, that's a thing now where old wrestlers will do interviews and just tell all the insane stories, and they get like people pay them to do the interviews.
Imagine.
He's just an asshole. Like, I don't think anybody likes him. He's also a prick on top of it all. Like, nobody liked working with him.
It's not a good business strategy. Just
No.
throw that out there.
But
Being a
entrance
prick,
music,
I don't know,
anybody?
John.
I always said that if I were a politician, my walk-on stage music, which I'm gonna sort of say it's the same thing here, would be the theme for the Wicked Witch of the West. You know, like the.
How about
I
was like-
I would go with any Weird Al polka.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna say the theme to the Golden Girls.
Ooh. John?
Different kind of vibe.
I was gonna go theme to the Golden Girls. Too, but-
I always liked there was that episode of The Simpsons where Homer's a boxer and he comes out to "Why Can't We Be Friends?"
yeah,
I thought that was
yeah.
Why
that
can't
was
we? Yeah,
well
he
done.
totally does.
What was his name? Tin Can Homer? Something like that.
Yeah.
Tin can.
He was fighting Mike Tyson and it comes out
Yeah.
to that.
Frederick Tatum.
Remember when that show was funny
Yeah.
like 75 years ago?
It may still be. I don't know.
Yeah.
God bless
It
it.
is.
Yeah. Horror Squad Pod.
I don't. It's
Have any of you checked out The Dark and the Wicked yet? It was one of the best of 2020 and feel most of you would love it. I've
No,
never heard of it.
I haven't heard.
No,
of it.
I've
we
not
looked at
seen it. I'm excited for it.
We
Yeah.
looked at it as one of our end of year. Like we were trying to cram in a bunch of stuff at the end of the year, and that was on the list. I will just say the trailer made it look pretty depressing. It was definitely in more of like the Eric genocide camp. than,
So I should like make a note of this for the next time you suggest it for the show.
No. I mean, I think we might still want to check it out, but check out the trailer. I don't know.
All right.
I've heard good things.
Next up, Lovecraft Tapes. How many stories in an anthology is the perfect amount? I think 3 is too few, 4 is okay, 5 is perfect, and more than that has to really earn it. Thanks for answering my which beer would you be last week. John is definitely Zima, and Rolling Rock was my first 6-pack.
I just feel like, and I'm actually surprised none of you read this because this movie was, I think, an hour and 50 minutes. Is that right? Or
It
an
was
hour?
pretty long, yeah, but
Yeah.
didn't feel it. Which
No,
was
and that's
surprising.
I was waiting for Eric to go on a rant. So that's the problem with 5 is it's like cramming 5 into like less than 2 hours feels like you're rushing. I mean, look, if there's no wraparound story, I guess it's workable, but I don't know. That would
I
be-
really liked how they did it in this one, though, with that little stinger at the beginning that was not part of the wrapper. So
Yeah.
that little 5-minute short threw me off. So I
Yeah,
thought
it's
that
like
was a
a-
nice way to add more in.
It's like an aperitif.
No, definitely. That's true. I mean, if you go that route, sure. Or you could go ABCs of Death route, and they're like, there's a
It's-
30-second
30
movie.
It
second,
didn't
yeah.
bother me because I liked it all, but it's a little weird to just have one tiny little short thing and not have another one thrown in there somewhere, I guess. But the
Yeah.
movie's almost 2 hours, so I didn't need more time.
Next up from Skizbutt. What was your worst first date? Did you pick a bad restaurant? Did you say something stupid? Did you miss your chance to show them your world-class lovemaking skills, Joe?
I don't really have an answer to this.
Did it really say Joe, or did you add that?
It did. No,
Do
it
people? I
really
mean,
did.
like, I don't see. Like, there was a period where I feel like when we were younger and dating, where like, I don't know, like you didn't really go on kind of dates the way you do now because of online dating. Like now, every first meet is like you just meet a stranger and go on a date, but that's not. Joe, do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
I feel like when
100%,
we
yeah.
were younger and courting, it was more like you were in a place with a bunch of other people, you know, like
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
you went out with a group. Yeah.
Right, which I think is way better than like just
Oh,
cold meeting
100%.
a stranger from an app. But that's me.
Yeah, because I've never had like a terrible date, but I definitely had like one where we went out to eat. We went to Outback Steakhouse, which
No big deal.
and it was just you could tell like 2 minutes in, I'm like, this isn't gonna go well, and I don't want to be here. But then you got to like sit through dinner, right, and like pretend.
You're
to
just like,
have-
that's it. I'm ordering 2 bloomin' onions.
yeah.
2 blooming onions. I love that you're just shoving blooming onion in your mouth, talking with your mouth open, just like
They're so good. They're so
It's
It's a
good.
great,
wait, do you really
great
need a
date
second
food for
dip?
your first kiss, a bloomin' onion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
You
we'll have
really
one
do
for an
another dip?
appetizer, and then I'll have one as my entree.
oh god, it's disgusting.
Oh God.
Anybody though? Anybody have a terrible date?
No, I
I
don't
took
have.
a girl out. I asked a girl out like right after I graduated high school, working at the grocery store. She didn't talk a lot at work, but she always laughed at my jokes and stuff. So I asked her out.
That's
Turns
the
out
most,
she didn't talk hardly at all. We went to a movie and like dinner, and she said maybe 2 words to me the entire night. And I'm like, I don't know what to do at this point. So I'm like, okay, let's go.
Casey. That whole
Fun.
story is the most adorable thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know me. I'm fairly outgoing and can talk to inanimate objects if needed. That was like the first time in my life I'd ever met somebody I was stumped on how to get a conversation out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
the
rough
moment I
because I'm
realized that,
even.
like,
I'm
you
even.
don't-
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like the moment I realized that like she didn't enjoy my like goofy banter, I'm like, this isn't gonna go well. Like this, because this is what you get. Like
Well,
there's nothing else here.
That's 95%.
To
of the
Casey's
jokes,
point,
right?
like
Yeah.
some people have social anxiety, but if the other person kind of gets it and can gently kind of take the lead in the conversation, then they loosen up and it's fine. But I've met those people you're talking about, Casey. We're just like, I'm not getting anything here.
All right, that's it for tweets. We'll hop over to Instagram. We're on there at Bloody Good Horror. Every Tuesday we post up. If you just want to send in questions, I'll reply with stupid, dumb answers, and then we'll talk about it on here. First up, though, from our friend who refuses to use the form. Would you work with the deceased? How much do you think they make? Like if I'm doing hair and makeup on the deceased, what would you guess financially I could expect? Shot in the dark.
I love
50,
that.
60K
Oh,
maybe?
you know who has an answer to this is Mary, because her husband used to do this for a living.
Oh, really? Interesting. My father,
Yeah,
I learned later in life was well, he's still alive. I don't know why I said it like that. He was originally going to go to school for like a mortuary's assistant, but ended up being an accountant, which I would work with a dad. Like I have no problem. I'm not like nervous about them coming back or anything. Doesn't bother me.
I don't think I could do it, if I'm being honest.
I don't think I could do it. I don't know that I could touch a dead person. I just I don't know.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could.
I could
Not
I could
top of my
touch-
list of things.
I could touch a dead person, John.
I got you.
Joe does have that story about seeing Frankenhooker at a really young age.
Yeah, it was with your brother. All right. We got some others here. So, what's a BGH crew review recommendation that nearly broke your friendship with them? So it's funny. I read this question this morning, and I was about to go out for a run, so I decided to listen to this episode. But I, for years, have been convinced that Eric loved House of the Devil. So that's the first thing that popped in my head when I read this tweet. Yeah, you've always said you don't like it, but I'm like, I swear to God, on that episode, you said you loved it. So I went back and listened to it. Turns out, again, I was wrong, much like Dan Aykroyd. No, you didn't like it.
No, although I have weirdly, like, after seeing it on the last drive-in, I've gained more of an appreciation for it, but I still think not enough things happen. I still think a lot of it is Ty West smelling his own farts.
It's funny listening to that old episode. I kind of want to go back and watch it again. But
yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot, like, it's weird. Like, we've talked about how, like, more subdued I was, which I didn't think was true. But there's at one point where Eric said that Ty West understands the, like, something about, like, cinema, like, some ridiculously pompous thing you said, Eric. And I didn't say a word. Like,
you were surprised. You were surprised that old you didn't come back after I said whatever that was.
Yeah, I'm running and I'm literally like screaming in my neighborhood, like, what the fuck is wrong
No,
with you?
I've actually, Joe, I've actually said that to you, that when I've gone back and listened to early Joe episodes, you're weirdly serious to a degree that makes me uncomfortable. Like, I don't like it.
Yeah. But my response was the prom night episode. Like, I think that almost broke you and John up. Right?
Although John and I mean, that was episode 18, so I wouldn't even know if we were friends at that point. We barely knew each other. I was trying to think.
I was definitely considering my life decisions at that point.
I wish I had seen this, because I'd have to look over an episode list, but there were definite ones where we've had some real heated arguments.
Wait, did I skip people's tweets? Did I just say that?
Yeah, I got some messages that you were skipping some tweets.
Did they use the hashtag? I'm gonna go back and look now while we're. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off about
about your decaying friendship.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna look this up and we'll read the next one. Y'all wanna snuggle?
I could go for some snuggling, actually. Yeah.
It's winter time. I'm down.
Next up.
Wait, no. Joe, you're gonna read that without reading your response, which I really enjoyed.
Oh no, I think I just said, like, I have intimacy issues. Like,
yeah, I was like pointing out.
Which, I mean, I think we're
actually accurate.
Yeah, it's not all the responses have to be jokes, John. And now, like, I got a feeling this is going to become a reoccurring thing where we're just mildly trolling John. Can we get a recount for anything for Jackson? I can't figure out the math.
I mean, it's fine, guys. The more people do this, the less I'm for it.
It was a good movie, I will say.
if we were gonna recount, we would have to bring Save Yourselves and Mortuary in, and then who the hell knows?
Then it changes everything.
You know what? To jump back over to Twitter, it looks like I did miss a couple from our buddy Chase. In spirit of tonight's episode, what other traumatic births/pregnancies in movies come to mind?
Well, Inside is like the that's the pinnacle. What was that movie?
Rosemary's Baby.
All right, okay. No, that's no. No, we watched one recently where there was the woman who was pregnant who was like making revenge killings. I can't remember what the hell the plot was at this point.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Good call.
I mean,
That was a fun
anytime
one,
there's
though.
Yeah, no, sure.
anytime there's a pregnancy in a horror movie, like I get like real nervous. Like I just don't like that.
Dude, all-time classic, The Brood. I don't know.
Yes,
if you consider it. It's sort of a birth situation.
All I could say is one time Colleen and I watched the beginning of Redneck Zombies from Trauma, and there was a scene at the very beginning with the pregnant lady and zombies, and we noped right the hell out.
There you go.
That's the only one I could find that I.
I'm terrified of pregnancy, I'm terrified of pregnancy, and Chase theorized that it's because I watched Rosemary's Baby too young, but I don't think that's true. I think I'm just scared of it.
Both of those things could be true.
Yeah,
I guess.
it is pretty scary.
That's the only tweet I can find that I missed. So anybody else, I think you did it wrong, and I'll stick to that, even if it turns out I am wrong. All right, here back to Instagram. What is something everybody loves except you? Mine is Baby Yoda. My response was Lord of the Rings. Like I just don't get it.
I've never.
I thought you were saying you didn't like Baby Yoda, Joe, and I was about to like.
No. This is, yeah.
I don't get the obsession with Trick or Treat. Like I rewatched it this year and enjoyed it more than the first time I saw it. But people are crazy about this movie, and I don't like. I get it. There's a lot of jack-o'-lanterns. That doesn't make it a good movie. It's just entertaining.
If someone wants to go back and listen to the episode that we did on it, I think I was anti that movie when we watched it.
It's fine.
And
it's a fine.
I've
movie.
always felt that way, where I was like, I don't like people. It's like,
I think it really benefited from
it.
It really benefited from being one of the last things ever that will be like shelved for 3 years because the company doesn't know what to do with it. Because now, if he made the movie now, it would just go to Shudder or Netflix or something. But they didn't. It had a mythos behind it before it was released, and I think that was a lot of it.
I think it all works for people because of the atmosphere, and it's a really good atmosphere to tie into Halloween more so than the movie and quality of the stories itself.
Right, that's what I'm saying. There's 1,000 jack-o'-lanterns and people jizz themselves over it, and I don't get it.
This is the second time that you've used jizz yourself.
That is not tonight. That is not true. That is not true.
No, in recent.
Oh no, he uses it a lot.
It's a recurring theme.
Also, who doesn't love Baby Yoda? Come on, it's delightful.
All right. Next up, do you make your own tortillas or use store-bought?
Store-bought.
Store-bought.
Jody,
but
that's a lot of
Jody, go wheat or corn?
I usually go corn.
Soft or hard?
Soft.
Yeah. We had wheat growing up. I never had a corn tortilla, and then when I discovered like how you kind of like you fry them up a little, they're delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fan. My neighbor, we had taco night at their house one night, and they made their own, and it was delicious. And we keep talking about how we should just do it because it's super easy, but then we just didn't.
Yeah, but you just buy them. Like, why you gotta get yourself extra work for that?
What kinds of things belong in Jell-O?
Nothing,
bro.
Yeah,
I will get down with an ambrosia salad.
Oh,
I will get down.
I can't do the texture change.
So we're talking.
Does that have
what's
Jell-O in it though?
Yeah. No, the base is Jell-O. It's got like like Cool Whip or whipped cream or something. There's usually pineapple.
Yeah, pineapple.
I think there's coconut in an ambrosia salad. Oh, and little marshmallows.
But it's not necessarily
I love
set
an
Jell-O,
ambrosia
is
salad.
it?
I think it's like you mix it all together. So I think it's like
a
it's in the mix. Yeah.
It's kind of soupy.
Yeah.
So good. Oh my god, bro.
I don't think it's soupy.
Maybe I've had bad ambrosia.
Yeah, I think you're getting wrong.
What do you guys? How do you guys feel about things in Jell-O?
I'm fine. I'm not a huge Jello fan to begin with, but like pineapple, I think is nice
Yeah,
in
fruit-
Jello. I'm okay
fruit
with
and
that.
Jello. You know what,
Well, I
Joe?
struggle with the texture.
Joe, I feel like you might be with me on this. This is kind of like on a different route. I love fruitcake. I don't know what the deal
I
with
don't
people
think
hating
I've ever
fruitcake
actually
is.
had fruitcake.
It's delightful. I don't get it.
I'll give it a go. Favorite vegetable?
It's a good question. Favorite vegetable is
Cabbage.
kind of a stretch. Cabbage.
Brussels sprouts.
Oh no, green beans.
I don't like
Well,
either of
Brussels
those
sprouts are like
answers.
little baby cabbages.
No,
Brussels
look, I
sprouts are-
like cabbage too. Cabbage is fine.
I'm from Indiana. It's got to be corn, right?
Yeah, I like corn a lot.
I think
I do enjoy peas like off the vine though, like those pot
Yeah.
peas.
I
Those are
think
delicious.
really roasted broccoli, like when you really get it seared nice, like that's really good.
Yeah.
Garlic and oil and salt and shit.
What should I get my partner for Valentine's Day? I mean, my response was the gift of not having to get each other stuff. Like, there's nothing that says I love you more than like not having to stress or.
I was gonna say, why are you thinking about Valentine's Day? And then I was like, fuck, I guess it is like 5 months away.
Yeah.
Yay.
Not far off.
I do have my Valentine's cards ready, so if you want a Valentine from me,
Wow.
DM me your address on Slack.
Does anybody else have? I mean, sex.
No.
Sex is always good.
I missed it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
there you
what was the
go.
question?
What should I get my partner for Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day is stupid.
Well, I was gonna say after being married for the 23 years this year, usually it's best to not go with the best sex you've ever had in your life.
I was gonna say, isn't that Roy says that to Pam on an episode of The
Yeah.
Office? He's like, "Let's get you home. You have the best sex you've ever had."
People should bake more. I think that's a solution. Agreed.
Yeah, bacon's
I
cool.
could
man.
dig it.
I like it,
I gotta not toot my own horn, but my bread has been
dude. Yeah,
on point.
your bread looks like some
It
like,
looks great.
magazine shit like that you've been posting lately.
These last couple I've made, I read I forget the guy's name, but Tartine, I think his name, his book, and it is amazing. Like he really helped me get there.
Joe, why you
Joe
bogarting
is
that
Star
bread?
Baker.
Just ship some of that shit to Maryland for me.
No,
Come on, man.
We covered this last week, right? Would you
Valentine's Day's coming up, man.
would you take your sourdough starter with you if aliens invaded?
no, because like I've read that this is fine to do, so I don't think it's a bad thing. But like I feed mine once a week, let it sit out for the day, and then I just put it in the fridge for a week. I've read that like they're pretty hard to kill. Like you could leave that thing in the fridge for like weeks at a time, and then you got to feed it more often, but like start it back up. Like they're not that hard to maintain. All right, next up, I'm a Cure fan. What's your favorite track by The Cure? My Old Mucker.
I know the MTV ones. I don't really know anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
I don't.
that one about
Friday,
the cats.
Friday, I'm in love. That's the Cure, right?
Yeah, that's them. I don't know a ton of their stuff, but I actually think I would like them. So I've actually been like messaging back and forth with this guy that I think I might give him a go. I recently discovered the Smiths a few years back, and Morrissey. Like right around the time it turned out he was saying like garbage, awful things, which is kind of a
Yeah.
bummer because I
Not
really
a
liked
great
him.
time to discover Morrissey.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I really like him. I'd like to go see him live. Oh, huh. Okay.
Oh,
I
dude,
always like the Love Cats best out of the Cure songs.
Joe, you know what else is in ambrosia salad?
What?
Mandarin oranges.
Yeah, I love ambrosia salad. I'm right there with you.
It's real good.
When I was growing up, my mom used to make a version that we just called green crap because it had like pistachio pudding in it.
Well,
I
see,
think, or, like, the mix.
this came up on Slack a couple months ago, and there was wild disagreement as to what constitutes an ambrosia salad. So I have a feeling there's a lot of regionalisms going on.
Yeah. Next up, who moved my cheese?
John.
A mouse.
I mean, I would have eaten it.
Yeah.
If the cheese is gone, then it was me. But
Like, I don't know if that's a reference to something, but
I don't.
the other thing it reminded me, and I think I posted it back, was the band Ween? Like years ago, like probably like 20 years ago, they were hired by Pizza Hut to write a jingle, and they didn't use it, and Ween like just released it, and it was amazing. But it was like, where the fuck? And they They ended up releasing like a dirty version of it. It was just like, where the fucking cheese at? I don't know.
Dude, you just
It
said,
was great.
You just said Pizza
Wait,
Hut
when
made
did
me
this-
so
They
hungry.
released it like at the time, I'm assuming.
Yeah, like I pretty much the story, if I remember right, like they wrote the jingle. Pizza Hut didn't want to use it, so they were just like fuck it, and they put it out on their webpage at the time, and they posted like the original version and then like the dirty version that they made after it. I'll find it and I'll send it to you guys.
Dude,
It's
you're
really
the
funny.
first person to reference Ween to me in like it's
Oh
been
my
a
god,
decade.
I love Ween.
Yeah,
like
I know.
so
I know
bummed.
people.
I'm pretty sure I've had
find 'em.
multiple conversations with Joe about Ween.
They're so great. Like, and I'm bummed because when I was in high school, they played, and like I remember I went to it and saw them at SPAC, and I didn't really pay attention because I just assumed they were like a hippie like fish band. But then like years later, when I like a buddy of mine listened to them a lot, and I started listening, like they're amazing. They're so great. Like,
Yeah.
Did they do that Big Brown Beaver song? Was that Ween?
no, that was
That's
Primus.
Primus.
Which,
that's
oddly
right.
enough, was at the same Horde tour that I saw Ween at.
Are they
like,
kind of
that same year.
similar? Is it a similar, just kind of like, I don't really know Ween. Like, is it like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Weird?
I don't know how to, like, jam band?
Quirky?
Like,
Okay, Primus
not
is more
really, but sort of. Like,
Yeah.
each album is
Yeah.
different.
They're all
Like-
different.
Primus was definitely not like Ween.
Okay,
No.
that's my question. Yeah.
To compare
got-
anything to Primus would be a stretch.
Ween's got an entire country album that is freaking hilarious.
Oh my god, it's so great. 12 Golden Country hit, or I forget what
Yeah.
it's called. It's amazing.
Mr. Richard Smoker.
They hired like legitimate like session musicians from like Nashville and like around the, like these guys have like been on everything, but the songs are just like so filthy. It's unreal. It's such a great album. All right, last but not least, if you all had cabinet jobs, which one would you want? Secretary of Defense, etc.
None of those jobs sound
Yeah,
good to me.
Yeah.
I don't think anything.
Even in an imaginary universe, I wouldn't want any
No,
of those.
fuck no.
Not this week.
No, honestly, like transportation, because what the fuck is that person doing? Like, I want a job where I'm a figurehead and I don't do anything and I just yell at people.
I would definitely take state because I would like to travel and that'd be
Oh,
fun.
you're so cool.
I take
John.
Secretary of Defense because then I don't have to finish anything.
Defense.
So
I would go state as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even
Lame.
know what most of them are, to be honest. Though. Secretary of Partying Down. Is that a thing?
Agriculture.
Yes.
That sounds like some
yeah,
bullshit.
it should be. For you, Joe, that would
It
be-
is now.
Fuck yeah.
You should write the Biden. I think you got a shot here.
Hey,
you should write
You
some
need someone to be Secretary of fucking shit up.
I don't know. President Victor Camacho would need a Secretary of Partying Down.
You could start working the Don Jr. angle for 4 years.
Yeah.
From now, just, hey, bud. Hey, bro.
I don't know,
that's it.
Joe. So many people are leaving. Like, if you might be able to get in there for a few days here before it all goes
That's
down.
true. Yeah, I mean,
Just get your resume. I'm sure they're taking fucking anybody right now.
I watched season 1 through 7 of The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Hire me.
Dude, probably. They're like, I don't know. Will you go do this press conference and take responsibility for this coup? And you're just like, oh yes, man, cool, dude, sure, let's do it.
Fuck yeah, there's some people from our hometown.
Joe goes out. He's like, I will only be taking questions about the Real Housewives.
You guys want a cameo or something? Here's some Girl Scout cookies.
I'm running in my
Price will
platform.
go up.
My platform is that Dan Aykroyd was never in the Bear skit.
I'll be honest, like it says it on the Wikipedia, but I still can't find a picture of it. So
I tried to find a picture
I'm
too. And couldn't.
gonna do more research. That's it for
I
questions.
think I remember the character now. Based on what whoever posted in the chat about it.
Honestly, it's a moot point because the Bill Brasky sketches are better as far as
Oh my god,
drunk
they're
people
so
sitting
good.
around a table.
I think I've told this story before, but late one night I was in my train station in Chicago waiting for my train to go home, and there was about 4 or 5 businessmen like all drunk out of their mind, and it was legitimately that sketch, like just thick Chicago accents,
Bill
like
Brasky.
one-upping each other with stories. Like it was unreal.
Love it. It's a good reference that 75% of our audience won't remember.
Yeah.
Do we know what we're doing next week? I don't think we've chosen that yet.
We did actually. It is shoot, and everything's running slow.
Promising Young Woman.
Promising Young Woman. Yes.
Ooh.
What's that? Is that Is that like a Holocaust movie?
Carrie Mulligan.
Oh, Eric.
It looks very good. And it
What's
comes out VOD this weekend, so it's
on
it's
a
got decent amount of stuff.
Schnarr's scale of despair. Are we talking like a 1 here, or like a 10?
I don't think it's despair. Like it's
No.
I think
okay.
you're safe this week.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Appreciate, John. Isn't that what you say? Appreciate.
Preach.
Sorry. All right, guys. Caitlin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I did. Do you remember the word of the day?
No, Caitlin, please. It was it was something about sex stuff. I remember that.
She took a note, Eric. This is.
What was it?
Oh, Renee in our Slack.
Sounds like Joe's last name.
Yeah, Charnels. Renee in our Slack group coming in with the picture of Dan Aykroyd in the Superfans
hell yes.
sketch. So,
Nice.
well done.
That's fucking awesome. All right, guys. Caitlin, thanks again. If you want to hear Caitlin on a different podcast and also maybe hear me, you can check out Thor's Hour of Thunder on podcast things. And that's going to do it for the Mortuary Collection. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
See you.
You do it now.
Me?
Yeah, that's whatever.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.